First show I ever seen that made me think witches were hot.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Early Watch. I'm your host, Dead Horse, and I have my awesome co-host with me, Tony. How you doing today, Tony?
I'm good. Sorry for the off the cuff thing, but we were playing guess the theme song today.
Yes, we are. Yeah, man. I remember watching that one as a kid. I thought the same thing. Samantha Stevens. Oh, yep, yep. Witches weren't green faces and crooked noses, and no, they became real hot real fast, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. You go from the Wizard of the Oz witch to, I guess the good witch looked pretty good in Wizard of Oz too.
Yeah. She was more like a fairy, though. I don't know. I don't know. She kind of dressed like a fairy to me, not like a witch.
The other one was perfect.
Man, Samantha Stevens. Yep, that was a great show. Back when I was a kid, I really enjoyed watching that. Ah, let's see. Early watch today is Thursday, June 20th, 2019. Boy,
Isn't today the first day of summer?
I believe it is. Yes, it was either today or yesterday.
And according to my calendar, we're both full of shit because it's tomorrow.
We'll see. Well, that's how much we know. It's
Well,
sometime around here. I'll tell you what, summer's been here for over the last week. The
we ain't seen
temperatures
it
picked
yet.
up.
It was like 55 when I got up and took the old lady to work this morning. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is too cold.
Oh man, it has taken a while to get the temperature up here. It rained and rained and rained just for over 2 months here, and pretty much every day. All that rain went back east and caused all those severe storms and tornadoes and stuff. I feel bad for those guys because I was like, oh, it's raining here today. In 2 days, the storm's going to be in Oklahoma, messing stuff up.
Yeah, and the day after that, it's here. I don't know how many reported tornadoes we've had this spring so far, but I think it's a couple dozen.
Let's see here. So I got some interesting news today. Boy, let's start, I guess, with one of the easy ones that aren't that important why people are tuning in. So Vox released a article. So everyone I think knows who Vox is now. They've been in the news a whole bunch, fighting with Crowder, and the cause of the Adpocalypse 2.0, and just anti-gun, anti-freedom, anti-everything, social justice warrior type media outlet that's, if I remember right, they're heavily funded by MSNBC. Was it MSNBC?
Hell, I don't know. I don't pay attention to them assholes.
It was either MSNBC or CBS, like gives them $250 million a year or something, and just but boy, they're calling out Instagram people, the hired guns of Instagram. Companies can't advertise on social media, so they have female influencers do it for them. I like how they just call out the female influencers, like there's, like the male influencers don't exist out there. That there aren't a bunch of guys out there getting free products, making money off of their Instagram, social, their followers and their influencer status. There's a lot of guys out there doing it too, but specifically in this article they released yesterday are going after the females on Instagram, ones that are pro-gun, ones that are a lot of the guys I guess could call them gun bunnies. Some of them might be, some of them I don't think are, but it's really trying to just, the article's kind of sad. It's really going after them, talking about if you send this girl $100 and some free products, she'll post a selfie with a shout out for you, and that's not necessarily the way it works. But
who gives a fuck if it is?
yeah, like, I mean, it's America, and but they're basically it's trying to I think it's really pointing at Instagram like, oh hey, you need to have rules and restrictions on these platforms, and these women shouldn't be able to uh post guns and pose with guns. They shouldn't be able to stand there in scantily clad clothing if they want to.
Now, let me point out that I do not care for the whole gun bunny thing. It just does not sit with me. Uh, but like you said, this is America. They're not breaking laws. The people that don't want to see that shit don't look. Fuck, it ain't that hard of a decision to make.
Right, exactly. We have unfollow buttons, we have block buttons, we have all sorts of tools on these social media platforms that if you don't want to see that, you can literally just hit one button and then you never see anything from that person again. I mean, that's how easy they've made it, right?
Yeah.
But it's really, this article is really more attack on the Second Amendment, attack on I'm not going to say it's a loophole or anything, but how gun companies are using these influencers, which it's no difference than companies paying people in Hollywood to like, oh, you're going to be going out on the red carpet, wear my dress, right, to the award ceremony, wear my jewelry, I mean, this is just a thing we've been doing with celebrities to rep our products going back, forever. I mean, that's just always been a thing. That if you're of some sort of social standing, you're admired, you got a lot of followers, you got a lot of people who are just fans of yours. Companies have always been about wear my stuff, use my stuff, promote my stuff. Here's some money to do it with. Some people will promote anything, and they don't care as long as they're getting paid and free stuff. Some people do have morals and convictions. They're like, oh no, I don't like that gun, or I don't like that dress. I'm not wearing it. I'm not going to promote your stuff. So it's just been it's a really sad article. I really don't want to promote it out there, but I just want to put it out there that Vox is starting to target Instagram gun channels now. And trust me, Instagram's going to see this, and Instagram's going to be like, oh, maybe we should do something. Maybe we should restrict these girls from posting guns. And so it's coming. It's coming, folks. Pretty soon you're not going to be able to just post a picture of you even just shooting a gun, because it's going to be considered offensive or hate speech or threatening, or it's coming down the pipeline.
When the hell is it time to get out the torches and pitchforks?
See, it's like a little bit, it's too late to fix it, and it's a little bit too early for that. We're right in between that in between period, I think.
Notice I didn't say take up arms.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's really sad. You don't really have to go read that article, but if you are on social media, if you post gun stuff on social media regularly, you might want to go read this this Vox article over on the Vox website. But just because they're calling out the females in this doesn't mean that the guys aren't next. So keep that in mind. This article is pages upon pages upon pages long. It's literally like 8 pages worth of just, calling out these women, calling out guns, calling out the promotion of guns and violence and da-da-da. So it's kind of sad. And they really try and hit home the point that, because they can advertise on social media, they have, they're having a loophole and having these women do it for them. So that's sad. Hey, John Brown. Thank you for joining.
Hey, I posted a link in the side chat that you might want to look at and then possibly play part of it on air.
Oh, definitely. Let's see.
This is what we deal with here in Illinois.
This is a 2-minute and 30-second video. Let me get it. When I play it through my computer, it doesn't come in very well. So I have to basically go grab it on my phone real quick and then play it. So 1 second. All right, so let's go. Before I play this, what Tony just sent me, Illinois State Senator Julie Morrison taunted a concerned gun owner during a town hall by telling him she might forego fining him and simply confiscate his firearms. The exchange was caught on video by the Illinois State Rifle Association and was tied to proposed fines for keeping commonly owned semi-automatic firearms in one's home. The concerned gun owner pointed to SB 107 and said the purpose of it was to take away his semi-automatic firearms. Morrison then interjected that the purpose was not to take them, but to prevent any future sales. The gun owner responded by pointing out the ban on future sales included a fine for current owners who did not hand their guns over. He said, "You want me to turn them over to the state police unless I pay a fine for each firearm and register them. Then I get to keep them." Morrison concurred, saying, "Okay." The gun owner then asked if I get to keep it. If I get to keep it, if I pay a fine and register it, then how dangerous is it in the first place, and why do you need to ban it at all? People in attendance applauded the gun owner's point, and once applause died, Morrison said, "Well, you just maybe changed my mind. Maybe we won't have a fine at all. Maybe it'll just be a confiscation and we won't have to worry about paying the fine." Wow.
You don't have to play it now because you just said what it said.
Oh no, I think it's important to. Let's play it. I got it up here on my phone. It's important to hear it right from their words. So hopefully this will come through.
Senator Morrison, you have an SB, you have a Senate Bill 107 to take away my semi-automatic firearms. Advance. But there's a clause.
Not to take, now let's, to clarify, I'm not taking your gun away from you. You just can't buy a new one.
You want me to turn it over to the state police?
You can't buy new ones.
Unless I give you a fine. Unless I pay a fine for each firearm and register them, then I get to keep it. So, if I get to keep it, if I pay a fine and register it, then how dangerous is it in the first place? Why do you need to ban it at all? Why do you need to try to ban my semi-automatic
Well, you've just maybe changed my mind. Maybe we won't have a fine at all. Maybe we'll just be a confiscation and we won't have to worry about paying the fine.
While we're taking away custody.
Hold on. I would like to ask a question. So I think generally speaking, with the way the state government regulates, we disincentivize behavior based on fines, penalties, and criminal activity and criminal enforcement. There's a whole escalation based on anything. Things that ordinarily, again, confiscation of weapons for mental illness is a conversation. Right? So the ways in which we talk about the rights that we have, so to me, having a fine is a penalty for those that are not operating. If we pass a law, whatever the topic is. Yeah. So again, you're asking us a question.
Bill has a fine of $25 per firearm to get to keep it.
It's a registration.
That's a fine.
That's your registration.
Hold on.
I bought it legally. You can't retroactively tax it. That's not a fee. That's a fine. That's a penalty.
Well, I would say that we have automobiles, cars.
That's a privilege, not a right. So thank you. And I'm sorry if I did not get.
Wow. What a bitch.
This is what we're dealing with in Illinois.
Wow. I'm sorry to say, just after seeing that with my own eyes on the video, let's see, I'm going to post a link to the video out in the side chat if anyone wants to. I don't know how well that came through on the speakers and everything, but if anyone, I'm going to post that out there in the YouTube chat and over on gun channels. And so you guys can listen to that for yourself. Wow, Tony, I feel so sorry for you, buddy.
And I
That
thank Mike Ozzy Osbourne for sending that to me and ruining my fucking day yesterday.
You might also want to subscribe to that channel, people. That ISRA, I'm understanding, is Illinois State Rifle Association, right? So that's ISRA notices the channel out there, in case you can't grab one of the links at the moment. But it's important to know what's going on in our fellow states, and this is just really, really sad. And she got some applause for it too.
Yeah,
So I mean, for her comment. So that's what's
creepy.
scary. Yeah. When she said, "Oh, we'll just confiscate them," and half the crowd cheered. Half the crowd applauded this gentleman for what he said. Well, the other half of the crowd was cheering her when she's like, "Oh, we'll just confiscate him then." But that gentleman is exactly right. I think that is a fine. That's retroactively taxing them, and that's a fine. That's not a tax.
It's also a discrimination against the poor.
Yeah, it is. I mean, $25 is a lot to a lot of people. I mean, that feeds their family for a week. That can be a lot of money for a lot of people. $25, and then $25 per firearm. This
is one of the downers of this show, running across shit like this. And if it's somebody else's state, it isn't quite the same as knowing that these motherfuckers are using my tax money to keep a bitch like that in comfort and safety and security while she's trying to strip my fucking rights.
We definitely need to do all we can do to get her voted out. That's for sure. She does not belong in politics with comments like that. Like, "Oh, we'll just confiscate him then." Yep. Come and take him.
That's Devin Nunes level of stupid.
Yep. I want her to come and take him, as long as she's the first one in the door. That's what I want to see. As long as she's the first one going through the door to come and take these firearms, come and take them, bitch. Man, I feel sorry for you, Tony. After watching and listening to that, that's just really, really sad.
And this bitch has dumped out a whole shitload of different stuff before this, I think.
You can tell by her whole attitude. If you actually watch the video, the way she's carrying herself, you can tell a lot by just watching a person versus just hearing their voice. And man, I highly advise you go watch that video, because it's bad.
She thinks she's a god or something. She really does.
She definitely has the "I'm better than thou" attitude.
No shit. Not that I condone murder, but somebody stand up with a bolt action and shot her in the fucking head would have been just perfect ending to that video.
Hey, David.
Thanks. Joke.
Yeah, Tony meant in Minecraft, of course.
Yes.
That was a video game he was talking about.
Yep.
Good morning, guys. How is everybody today? I assume we're talking about the post Dano put on gun channels.
No, we're talking about the post I put on here. I didn't see Dano put it on here on the gun channels, to be honest. David, Mike, Ozzy Osbourne sent it to me.
Was it the lady in the Senate Hall or House or whatever that said she's going to come take your guns from you?
One of them, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. But in Illinois.
The obvious question, and I'm in the middle of a conversation with somebody from Australia right now about the same thing, is what's next? Because if you're going to go on the premise that you take away guns to make everybody safer, what's next? And without a doubt, every time you ask one of these gun grabber, leftist, liberal Democrats, fake Republicans, whatever you want to call them, that question, they always say, "You're just being paranoid. Nobody's coming for your your speech is far more dangerous. Your vote is far more dangerous than any gun would ever be. So to think that once they take the guns that they're not going to come after your speech and they're not going to come after your vote, you're fooling yourself."
Yeah, just look at the other countries. Look what they took after they've, taken certain guns. They took more guns, and then all guns, and then knives, then bats. I mean, just look at any other country. Like, that's the way it's been turning out. Australia right now. So this is something I think you could look up, as I heard just a little while ago, is that since taking all the guns in Australia hasn't helped with crime there, and that stabbings and knife attacks, just like in England, have gone up. That they're trying to take knives in Australia now and ban knives, the carrying of knives, even like tiny little pocket knives. So, it's not going to stop at the guns.
You ain't going to stop a human from inflicting harm on another human should they choose to do so. Ain't going to happen.
Boy, I really feel sorry for you, Tony. Let's get her voted out of office. I think that's the best thing we can do, is make that aware at the next election that comes up. The next person that's running against her, let's make sure that she gets put out of office, because she does not belong there. Make treason great again.
No shit.
So yesterday we kind of touched briefly on about a news story, and we touched briefly about having stickers on your vehicles, whether they be political stickers or whether they be, Smith & Wesson Glock stickers, stuff like that. So just so happens an article was released yesterday about that very same fact. And this is kind of what we were talking about yesterday. So, mistrial in Minnesota shooting case where bumper sticker was used for probable cause. So, this comes from AmmoLand. In January 2018, 25-year-old Alexander Weiss shot 17-year-old Mohammed Rahim in a claimed act of self-defense. Mohammed died. The case captured the attention of people in the gun culture because the prosecutor used the fact that Weiss's car had a political bumper sticker on it as probable cause to indict Wess. So let me read that again. The prosecutor used the fact that Weiss's car had a political bumper sticker on it as probable cause to indict Weiss.
That dude is fired.
The bumper sticker made a statement about gun control. The sticker said, "Gun control is hitting your target." So one more time, I'm going to say this. The sticker said, "Gun control is hitting your target," and a prosecutor in Minnesota used that as probable cause to indict him. This is some of the dangers of having these stickers on your vehicle. Weiss was threatened by two 17-year-old young men who were accompanied by two teenage girls. The surviving male said he and Muhammad had not touched Weiss before the shot was fired. Weiss stated that Muhammad tried to get the pistol from him and that Muhammad pushed him during the confrontation. Weiss had a concealed carry permit. Weiss immediately called 911 after the shooting. 16 months later, after a jury trial, a mistrial was declared. The jury could not reach a unanimous verdict. A mistrial has been declared in the Alexander Weiss murder trial. Olmsted County Judge Joseph Chase made the determination after the jury in the case resumed deliberations. After reporting they were at an impasse in the mid-afternoon following about 10 hours of deliberations. The apparent hung jury declaration came about 2 hours later. The jurors began their deliberations Monday evening following the presentation of closing arguments over the fatal shooting of 17-year-old Muhammad by the 26-year-old Weiss in January of last year. The shooting occurred during a confrontation that erupted after a minor traffic crash and, again, a road rage incident. A minor traffic crash and resulted in a second-degree murder charge against Weiss, who claimed the shooting was an act of self-defense. So there's a lot more to this story. I'm not going to go into all the details and everything, but I think the main point to touch on is that we have a hungry DA or a hungry assistant DA, and if this bumper sticker was used to indict him. I mean, as probable cause. I mean, that is just scary. I mean, think about that. Your bumper sticker and probably a completely legit self-defense scenario was used against this guy to indict him and to try and charge him with second-degree murder.
I think that this dude might actually have a First Amendment case against that DA.
Probably. I hope so. I hope he gets sued. Oh boy, that's just really scary. So that's kind of what we were talking about yesterday on the dangers of having these stickers. Again, it is a free country. Have them on your vehicles all you want and whatnot. But just keep in mind, if there's a questionable shooting, like even somewhat questionable, maybe not even questionable at all, all it takes is just one person you don't know, some district or assistant district attorney, to say, oh, I don't like that bumper sticker. I think anyone who would have a sticker like that on their vehicle is a bad guy. And that's what it sounds like. This is exactly where it came from. So
I wonder if the dude went home and peeled the damn thing off.
I'm guessing so. I'm sure that's probably some of the first advice his lawyer gave to him. But I just think it's really sad that this guy has been going through this now for a year and a half. This court case being charged with second-degree murder. So that's a year and a half of every day worrying, like, hey, is the rest of my life going to be taken away from me? Am I going to be sitting in prison for the rest of my life? Is what's going to happen to me? That is so much stress and worry every single day for the last year and a half on this gentleman. I can't even imagine all what him and his family have been through in the last year and a half. But I feel very, very bad for him.
Yes, I do too. And the thing is that while anybody should be free to put anything they want on their bumper, one should use judgment.
Yes, you should. So, now that we're a little bit into the show, I totally forgot about my little trivia question yesterday. So I'm going to give away a E2M and Every Second Matters patch from gearwebsites.com today. If anyone can answer this trivia question, and I'm going to warn you right now, you have to think outside the box. Think outside the box on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Name the most powerful gun that's ever been made. And I'm going to give you guys a hint. Not counting two different spacecraft. The projectile that this gun shot is the fastest man-made moving object ever, at over 125,000 miles per hour. Again, that's 125,000 miles per hour.
Well, hell, that's 44 Magnum territory.
But you have to think outside the box. It's it's definitely not going to be something like, oh, it's a 4570 or it's this. Think outside the box.
That's sticking a 44 Magnum out the wing window of the shuttle.
At the shuttle. Well, even the shuttle, I think, only gets up to about 17,000 miles per hour or something like that. So this is 125,000 miles per hour. Only two spacecraft, one that was falling into Jupiter's atmosphere and one that was made to survey the sun using the gravity of Jupiter and the gravity of the sun to pull them up to speed. Those two objects became faster. This was basically shot out of, well, all intensive purposes, somewhat of a gun barrel. And I guess not all gun barrels have to be made of steel, so there's another clue for you. But a projectile that was 4 feet thick, I believe is what it was, 4 feet thick, was shot out of basically a impromptu gun barrel and reached speeds of 125,000 miles per hour. So that's 6 times Earth's escape velocity. It might be the first man-made object to actually leave our solar system, and not Voyager probe. They're not sure where this projectile may or may have not have landed, if it's in orbit, if it got captured in the gravity well of another planet, or if it landed on another planet, or it very well could have escaped our solar system, and long before Voyager did.
way to fucking go, not knowing where your target's at. Let's just disregard all the gun safety stuff we learned. What's beyond it? Ha!
So you want to know what happened to Mars, the destruction on Mars? I think this is proof of what happened to Mars right here. I think this projectile hit Mars and caused all the damage you see there. But I read about this the other day, and so think outside the box on that one. And the first person who gets that right, I'll also give you another hint. This happened a month before Russia put Sputnik up into space. So we launched a object into space before Sputnik, and with 6 times Earth's escape velocity that may or may well have left our solar system long before the Voyager spacecraft did.
God, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
So I'll let people ponder that while we go on with the show. So remember, think outside the box. It's not going to be your typical gun or cannon or something. So more of an impromptu, maybe even more of a, oh, we didn't know this would act like a gun. We didn't know this would act like a gun barrel, and then it ended up acting like one, right? So let's see here.
Sounds like technology we ought to revisit.
Yeah, right. I mean, this was like a 4-foot thick, basically steel plate, for all intents purposes, that got launched at that kind of velocity. So you might also want to think of what man-made stuff could potentially do that at those velocities. Oh, let's see here. So Florida congressman makes a compelling case against red flag laws. Let's see here. So Florida congressman David Jolly, I guess, is pooping all over red flag laws in Florida. He's standing up. So let's see here. I firmly believe that the reason every media outlet in the country seems to be covering this is to shame a young man for having the temerity to stand up for the gun rights after the Parkland shooting. I cannot imagine any other reason that major news outlets would have a multi-pundit panel to discuss one kid's rejection from college, especially in such a unsympathetic light. So I believe this has to do with the Kyle Khrushchev. So if you guys remember, after the Parkland shooting, they had that panel and all the kids were up there. If you guys remember the one kid who had his mind changed and who started coming back being pro-gun and saying, hey, like, after I saw the facts, after I saw everything, you know what, taking the guns isn't the answer. I wish my teachers would have had guns. I wish, it's that kid, Kyle Khrushchev. Or I'm probably not doing his last name a service here. He got rejected from Harvard. And I guess I haven't heard about it here on the news, but I guess the Florida news is running about it, almost praising the rejection that he got from Harvard, because he's now pro-gun. And he's a Parkland survivor. It's just kind of funny that the media is spinning it like that, like they're almost happy. Oh, great, this kid doesn't get into Harvard. Yay, because he changed his stance on guns. Because he saw the light, he did his own research, he looked at the data and said, oh, you know what, taking the guns isn't the answer. We need more guns. We need teachers to have guns. And he's been very outspoken in public and on media about that. And do you guys know who I'm talking about yet?
Oh, I do.
Okay, yeah. So he got rejected from Harvard. And so I guess Florida's trying to spin it, not only to make light of it, like, yay, he got rejected from Harvard, but at least he has one congressman standing up for him.
Yeah, he's the kid that you seen like one time on national media, and then they're like, "Oops, nope, forget that."
Oh, let's see here. Next one. Virginia court clerk charged with carrying a firearm in a courthouse. So after the murder spree in Virginia, a Virginia court clerk, I guess, decided to start taking their safety into their own hands. and they got caught with a firearm in a courthouse. So let's see here. Let's see if I can find. Now, another public employee in Virginia has been arrested for bringing a handgun into a courthouse, according to the Associated Press. Richmond, VA, a woman who worked as a clerk in the U.S. bankruptcy court in Virginia, has been charged with bringing a gun into the courthouse. Tammy Ludek was charged Monday with violating a law that prohibits the possession of guns or other dangerous weapons in federal facilities, including a courthouse. Ludek is charged with bringing a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol into the clerk's office in Richmond on February 14th. Ludek linked.
Now, wait a minute. It's just a 9mm, man. That can't even call that a real gun.
A less than lethal option. So, Ludek's LinkedIn page says she has worked as a senior deputy clerk at the bankruptcy court since 1991. A woman who answered the phone in the clerk's office Monday said Ludek no longer works there. A message left for her supervisor was not immediately returned. So this, we didn't even hear about this. I never heard about this. So this apparently took place back on February 14th, if this is printed right. But we're just now hearing about it. And I guess she wasn't charged until this last Monday, so a couple days ago is when charges were finally brought against her. It's kind of weird that it was after that shooting and it's taken this long for those charges to be brought. If this happened back in February, that's kind of weird.
Well, it's a violation to carry the gun to courthouse. And I have to say sorry, lady, but you fucked up.
Yeah, that's why it's mindful to be aware of where you're carrying and stuff like that. That's another reason I'm kind of against the purse carry thing, because I think it can be a lot more easy to forget, like, oh, I had it in my purse, right?
Well, at my courthouse, when you walk through, the first thing you went through is a metal detector, and your whatever you had with you went through the X-ray machine, and that would have been probably 90 when that started. So I'm sure that it was similar there.
Is it an X-ray machine or just a metal detector?
No, there's a metal detector you walk through, and you place your bag or whatever the hell you carry with you on the X-ray machine. They had both.
I did read a stat a while back. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but that said that TSA agents, I think it was something like 27 weapons a day are confiscated, and that 80% of the time it was women and women's purses, having a knife, mace, guns, stuff like that in the woman's purse. And the number one excuse was I forgot about it. I forgot it was there, and I can definitely see that. Especially if you're not using it, you're not mindful of it. You just stick it in your purse. I can easily see it, you forgetting that it's even there. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to go fly today. I'm going to go on this trip. And it's just something you don't think about. Whereas if you're putting that gun on and off every single day on your hip, on your belt, you're much more mindful of it. You're much less likely to forget about it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think about the fact that I carry a gun most of the time. I mean, it's just like having a fucking wallet or multi-tool hanging on your belt. It's just something that you have.
So we got some good news maybe coming out of Bellevue, Washington. Or let's see here. Well, maybe this is good news coming out of California. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's both. So maybe this is the Ninth Circuit. I'm not sure here. So a federal district judge, a federal district court judge in California has issued a preliminary injunction against the Del Mar Fair Board's attempt to ban gun shows in a case involving the Second Amendment Foundation and other groups and individuals. SAF is joined by the California Rifle and Pistol Association, B&L Productions, Crossroads of the West, South Bay Rod and Gun Club, Maximum Wholesale Ammo, Brothers, and 5 private citizens. SAF is represented by veteran attorney Donald Kilmer, who has won previous lawsuits challenging gun show restrictions in the Golden State. CRPA is represented by attorney Chuck Mitchell, another veteran of gun law litigation. The case is supported by the National Rifle Association's Institute for Legislative Action. Federal District Judge Kathy Bensavingo issued the preliminary injunction prohibiting the Del Mar Fair Board from enforcing a recently enacted moratorium on gun shows at the fairgrounds. Plaintiffs in the case consider this a huge victory over a moratorium that took effect back on January 1st, and the lawsuit has followed later that month. Of course, we're delighted with this ruling, said SAF founder and executive vice president Alan Gottlieb. At a time and in a state where law-abiding gun owners seem under constant attack, having a federal judge side with our complaint validates our efforts to protect constitutional and civil rights. Lately, he added, it seems like a week doesn't go by without another court victory in our efforts to win firearms freedom one lawsuit at a time. The lawsuit was filed in U.S. District Court for the Southern District of California in San Diego. At the time, Gottlieb called the Fairgrounds Board's actions as an attempt to marginalize gun owners and exclude them from the public square. He suspects this is an effort to drive gun shows from public venues altogether. So that sounds like a 2A win to me. It's good news coming out of California. They can get their gun shows back, at least in Southern California, at those fairgrounds. At least in those specific fairgrounds, they get their gun shows back.
Unless they go against up to the full ninth, and then, God, who knows?
Oh, we did have that one judge, and I believe he in the ninth, who did lifted the ban on magazines for a week. So we might have more friends than what we know about there. At least I'm hoping.
When it goes up to the full ninth district court, they're not friendly.
One of the things that I find interesting is maybe it's just me and I'm making it up, but every time you hear some good news coming out of the Second Amendment area, you hear the name Alan Gottlieb. So
yes, you do. That guy's doing a lot. Is he? He is everywhere. Is he not?
I mean, every single time I hear good news involving firearms or firearms rights, you hear the name Alan Gottlieb.
That's why you should support 2AF and GOA, because they're the ones that are actually stepping into the arena. The NRA just comes and backs them.
Let's see here.
All right, I have to bail, guys. So
yes, sir.
Guys have a good show.
You go take care of yourself, Tony, and let us know. We'll definitely see
you. Have a nice day, Tony.
Thanks. You guys have a good one too.
Oh, let's see out here on the YouTube side. We got I see some good answers out there for the trivia question. Let's see here. Oh, close, Patriot, close. Ooh, Patriots really, really close. Really close. Patriot's definitely the closest one yet out there. That's one of his answers. So Patriot is like right there. He's almost got it. Let's see here. All right, so here's a subject. Why are so many LGBT people hostile to the right to keep and bear arms? This is coming from the Truth About Guns. They released a article yesterday talking about the LGBTQ community And why are they so hostile, and why do they insist on voting in anti-Second Amendment politicians? And armed gays don't get bashed, and so they're talking about how it boggles the mind that so many LGBT people are opposed to gun rights, and they vote for anti-Second Amendment politicians. And so, what do you guys think about that?
Part of the propaganda.
Part of the propaganda.
I mean, it's exactly it, because you got the people who are going to claim, the people who are going against gun rights are also the same people that are going to say that if you misgender me, I'm going to put you in jail. So they're believing that this false, and they know it's not true. They know it's a lie, which it makes it even more corrupt. That it's so dangerous out there in this country is so homophobic and transphobic that a trans person can't walk out their front door without being run over by a car. And obviously that's not true, but that's what they're sold.
So it says,
I think what it is they are the most vocal, and they are the ones that have been converted to the leftist thinking. Like like David said, they're the ones that scream the loudest. And what is the old saying? The squeaky wheel gets the oil or the grease.
well, I also think that there's a misnomenclature out there that conservatives and Republicans are the main people that I think either gay bash or hate gay rights. And I've never thought of that being the case. I think that there's been groups of people in all different political arenas, no matter whether they're a Democrat, Republican, no matter what religion. I think there's certain subsections in every group that have uh, uh, have hated on gay people. I don't think it's always just been, oh, it's just Republicans and conservatives, but I think that's what a lot of these people have been told, is that it's, and that what they've been hearing in media and stuff like that, it's the conservatives and Republicans that, don't want to legalize gay marriage, stuff like that. And which is, unfortunately, there are a lot of Republican politicians out there who have made statements and have ran on those platforms and have enacted anti-gay marriage laws and stuff like that. And so I think that's the main thing that's driving them away. I have recently seen a real big growth in the conservative and Republican communities, uh, um, from at least the politicians. I wouldn't say the community, but the politicians, in being more open and being more accepting and of LGBTQ rights. This article says that if if we in the gay community know we are frequent targets, why do we overwhelmingly oppose laws that protect our right to defend ourselves? Why do I find myself at party after party defending my decision to work for the NRA? Why does my wanting to own a firearm make some gay people I meet accuse me of being self-hating? Why is a community that prides itself on inclusion and tolerance so intolerant towards the Second Amendment? The NRA and those who believe in the right to self-defense. By William McLaughlin. I wish the gay community were more accepting of gun supporters. I should know. So that was a statement made by William McLaughlin, who's obviously a part of the LGBT community, and that was his personal experience, um, socializing and whatnot with inside his own community, and seeing intolerance with inside of his own community towards him, just because he's a Second Amendment advocate, which is just really, really sad. So I'm glad he's pointing this out. I'm glad the Truth About Guns is not afraid to run stories like this, because I believe that's a real thing. FBI statistics here. It isn't news that gay men and lesbians are frequently the victims of the hate crimes In DC, crimes motivated by anti-LGBTQ bias increased by 50% between 2016 and 2018, from 40 incidents to 61, according to statistics from the DC police. Nationwide, hate crimes targeting people because of their sexual orientation rose 5% between 2016 and 2017, from 1,076 incidents to 1,130, according to statistics from the FBI. So, I guess there has been a rise. 5% doesn't sound like that much. It's only about almost 60 extra cases from 2016 to 2017, but 1,000 cases, period. That's just, that's 1,000 too many, right? So, so I'm glad that these articles are getting out there by people like Truth About Guns. Maybe make some of these people in these communities be more self-aware and pay more attention. Like, why would I want to be giving away my right to self-defense and protection and by voting in these politicians, especially when so many Republican and conservative politicians are basically pro-LGBTQ now. It's not the same Republican and conservative party of the 80s. It's a whole new world, right?
Oh, a true conservative platform is going to say, we don't care what you do as long as you're two consenting adults in the privacy of your own home.
Exactly.
And that's what the true conservatives say. And so I push back against the whole conservative and Republicans have been attacking gays, because it's just not true. And if you want to dive deeper into the statistics, and once again, this is just my opinion, so it doesn't reflect Early Watch, Tony, John Brown, or Dead Horse. But if you look into how many Muslim men are committing these anti-gay attacks, and I guarantee, I'll promise you, whatever breakfast you want from whatever restaurant you want, that if you dig deeper, that's what you'll find is there's an increase because of Muslim men attacking gay people. Now, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying they're the only ones. I'm not saying that there's not white gay bashers and black gay bashers and all that. But, their book talks about burning them, not, either way.
Yeah, and I think that may have been more of a thing back in the 80s. Certain politicians, and I say certain politicians, ran on platforms and promoted, and not violence, but the anti-gay marriage and stuff like that. And and so I think that's where a lot of this farce comes from. That, like, oh, all conservatives, all Republicans are anti-gay, and I really don't think that's the truth. I think that's a very, very minor subsection within that community that you can find within all communities, some more so than others. But in 2019, I personally don't know a single person, and pretty much all my friends and family members are either Republican or conservative. I don't know a single one of them that's anti-gay marriage or anti-LGBTQ, or I don't know a single person anymore that really has that mindset. So it's a whole new world, people. And just because we had a bad egg here and there, a so-called conservative or Republican politician ran on anti-gay grounds, doesn't put us all in that same boat. So it's definitely something to be aware of. Let's see here. Let's see what answers we got over there. Let's see here. Nothing yet. Let's see here. The next generation of Second Amendment supporters is emerging. So this comes from Amaland.com. One of the most important things Second Amendment supporters can do to preserve our freedom is make sure that respect and support for freedom is passed down to future generations. This is something anyone who knows me, I've said this for a long time, that our Second Amendment rights are really in the hands of our children. Thankfully, there is a new generation of Second Amendment defenders arising, thanks to the work of a number of organizations. Students for Concealed Carry has been one of these organizations, perhaps the most prominent voice to come from it, albeit not without some controversy, is Antonia Akafor. When anti-Second Amendment extremists are trying to paint defenders of the Second Amendment with certain terms, Okafor can readily shoot that down and has the potential to make those extremists look like liars, but also could provoke them into doing something stupid. In fact, Mrs. Okafor is just part of something we are seeing in some other groups that support the Second Amendment, notably Turning Point USA. The next generation of Second Amendment defenders is diverse. We're seeing African Americans like Mrs. Okafor, Candace Owens, former communications director at TPUSA in 2018 and 2020 U.S. Senate candidate John James, rapper, fashion designer Kanye West, and NRA TV's Colin Noir. Hispanic Americans like TPUSA's Anna Paulina and NRA TV's Gabby Franco are also prominently defending the Second Amendment. Even the Washington Post had to acknowledge that there are members of the LGBTQ community who support the right to keep and bear arms. Just the fact that one member of that community works on the NRA social media will start conversations, and those are opportunities to change minds. To put it bluntly, Turning Point USA has been doing very well in providing a platform and a voice that is getting a message that includes support the Second Amendment out to people in communities that traditional Second Amendment advocacy has been difficult in connecting with. In this sense, they have put the NRA to shame. This organization is also proving that getting the message to those walks of life is possible. It takes hard work, hustle, patience, and sacrificing preconceived notions and perceptions. But it is very doable. The NRA would be well served to poach some of the TPUSA's talent in this field, not to mention hiring some translators to reflect the current reality of multilingual ballots. The failure to develop effective outreach in those communities is something Wayne LaPierre and the NRA brass need to be held accountable for. This is not to say the NRA has been ignoring the next generation. NRA University is quietly establishing a presence on campus, even as it has been overshadowed by Students for Concealed Carry and Turning Point USA. This helps prepare young activists to defend the Second Amendment. The National Rifle Association also features the NRA Collegiate Coalition and employs campus coordinators. While many of those involved in these programs are not household names like Mrs. Okafor yet, you can bet they will be involved in the defense of our freedoms in the future. Defending the Second Amendment in school can be a tough row to hoe, and you can bet hostile administrators and teachers will look for excuses to wreck the future of a high school or college student for supporting the Second Amendment. The method may be something unrelated and away in the past. However, looking over these groups of young pro-Second Amendment advocates, it is safe to assume that the fight for the Second Amendment is in very good hands of the future. So Turning Point USA, and the, what was it, the NRA University. Have you guys ever heard of Turning Point USA?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Charlie Kirk, is the guy who pretty much runs the place. And then there's Candace Owens, who has gotten super popular lately. And then one person who's pretty popular but doesn't get as much shine, who I think is probably one of the best, is the guy named Brandon Tatum. And he does a lot of YouTube videos. He's a really good dude, super high energy, super passionate about freedom and honesty and truth. So yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of Turning Point.
Yeah, I've heard of them before, but I've never really looked into that organization or what they're out there doing. I just haven't heard. I just don't hear much about them, and at least in my Second Amendment communities, it's just not something I hear talked about very often.
Well, right now they spend so much time bogged down in racial stuff. Candace Owens is a black girl was pretty much a progressive leftist, and she did a bunch of really foul stuff, doxing people and stuff like that. And then she had her awakening moment, I guess you would call it. And Brandon Tatum is a former Arizona police officer, and now I guess she was like motivational speaker or whatever like that. But they spend so much time battling racism because Brandon and Candace are both black. Uh, they don't get a whole lot of time to talk about the Second Amendment, but they're both very pro 2A.
I definitely want to support them. I'm trying to look for their website right now so I can post that out there. Let's see. They got a Facebook page. Let's see. I'm trying to find. Does Turning Point USA? I assume they have to have a website, right? There we
Yeah, I
go.
would imagine so.
tpusa.com. There we go. Post that out there in the side chats. TPUSA. Post that over there on gun channels. And they do have a Facebook page also. Oh yeah, it looks like they got a bunch of good information over there on their Facebook. It looks like their Facebook page is really active too. Well, this is going to be awesome. I'm definitely going to look more into Turning Point USA. Like I said, I haven't really heard about these guys. They just don't come up much in conversations that I'm in. Let's see here. So that is all my news for today. So let's see here. Going back, I want to see if Patriot answered that question yet. So yeah, he was super, super close. Super, super close. Oh, you had the year right, 1957, Patriot. You have the year right. That's the year that it took place, 1957. But he said two small pebbles. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to Patriot because he did say a nuclear bomb. And he did get the date right, 1957. So on August 27th, 1957, a month before the Russians put Sputnik into space, we were doing high altitude nuclear testing. And I guess some people thought like, hey, maybe this isn't a good thing. Maybe we don't want to be, testing these nuclear bombs and radiations in our atmosphere or even above ground. So they decided to start testing nuclear bombs underneath ground. So they dug a great big hole and put a nuclear bomb down in the bottom of it. And then they filled it with concrete. And on top of the concrete, they put a 4-foot thick manhole cover, 4-foot thick solid steel. What they didn't know is that when the nuclear bomb exploded, when they lit it off, that the concrete vaporized and turned into a high pressure gas. And they had high speed cameras set up and that were recording at 1,000 frames per second. And in one single frame, they caught the manhole cover being ejected from the test. So the hole they dug and the concrete, it acted like a gun barrel and ejected this manhole cover into outer space at the speed of 125,000 miles per hour. And they know that because they know where the manhole cover was, and they know when the bomb went off, and they know where the manhole cover was in the frame when they actually caught it in a single frame. And from that, they can use some simple math and determine the speed of this object. 125,000 miles per hour. They basically turned the Earth, so to speak, into a gun barrel and launched a 4-foot thick manhole cover into outer space, 6 times Earth's escape velocity. And there has been some mathematicians I've heard that have tried to figure out where this thing could have gone in our solar system, looking at where the planets were. It's what they don't know is the exact angle of ejection, like that it probably didn't go exactly straight up. So that's kind of where they lose it. There are some good guesses. Some of the guesses are that it could have actually escaped our solar system, and some other people think it might have been caught in the gravity well of one of the larger planets like Saturn or Jupiter, and it might have went into their atmosphere. Some people still think it's roaming around in space. Some people think it might have even have hit the moon, and but that's the fastest man-made object, at least here on Earth, that we've ever made. 125,000 miles an hour. And even in space, there was only two man-made objects in space that were faster, and both those were satellites or spacecraft using the gravity pull of the sun and of Jupiter to speed them up faster than that. But imagine that, using basically a tunnel that they dug, filled full of concrete, and a 4-foot manhole cover as the projectile, launching that at 125,000 miles per hour. So I'm going to give that one to Patriot. So Patriot, you'll get a E2M patch over there from the Gear website store. Thank you very much. You had both the year and the nuclear bomb right. But imagine that. Now all we need to do is figure out how to make a little nuclear bomb and fit it inside of a 9mm, and it'd be effective. Let's see here. So that's
But-
all. Oh, go ahead, David.
The question is, would G-Webs carry it then?
I don't know. It's still kind of small diameter. I'd rather see it behind a 40 or 45 or even a 10. I think that's how they came up with 10mm. I think that's really what's inside of a 10mm. That's where they got the idea of 10mm. Probably. It's right from that test. They were like, oh, we'll just miniaturize this. And look, they came up with 10mm. Seems logical to me. So those are all my 2A news stories for today, fellas. So we still got we usually try and go about 2 hours, so we still got about 45 minutes left. So is there anything, any 2A news stories around you guys, any gun talk, anything you guys would like to talk about today? What about you, John? Is there anything going on there where you're at? Any anti-gun legislation coming down the pipeline?
Nothing but I guess they're still looking at the red flag and the standard capacity magazine bans. I haven't heard anything new.
What about you, David? Has anything come down the pipeline there? Any new relevant revelations or anything like that?
No, nothing new. The last stuff that really was coming down in Maryland was all the stuff that got shot down. The background checks for private sales and ghost guns and AR-15 builds. All that stuff got voted down. So right now we're in kind of a lull. Nothing's really happening.
And that's why when we're in these lulls in our own states and there's nothing necessarily threatening us, that's the time to be a lot more proficient about helping our friends out in our neighboring states and our cousins and brothers across the country that seem to be under constant attack, like California, Illinois, Washington, Oregon right now. So just be mindful of that, of our brothers and sisters. Follow Firearms Policy Coalition. Those guys are doing some really, really good things. Are any of you guys members of a Firearm Policy Coalition? So Firearm Policy Coalition, FPC for short. I see that these guys doing a lot. I mean, they are always out there in the news.
I'm not a member, but I I listened to their Greg's. You know, I try to get his morning coffee in the afternoon. Uh, Blair Boy, he tells you what to fight during the day. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. There was just guys using saws
It's okay. I miss the sound of radial saws running all day.
and
Construction
but
sites.
I'm gonna join the Firearms Policy Coalition this summer, as well as the GOA and a couple other ones. You know, try to get hooked up with some of the Marco from Gun Channels. I hooked up with him, and he lives in Maryland, and so hopefully I'll be able to get more involved locally with his help.
So the one thing I like about the Firearms Policy Coalition is that you can. It's very easy to navigate their website. You can go to firearmspolicy.org. One of the very first links on the top of the screen is a link that says "Take Action." So you click on that link that says "Take Action," and you scroll down, and you'll have Trump's possible ban on suppressors, oppose. They'll have a take action link where you can either send letters to local representatives, Congress, write to Trump, stuff like that. The next one down is guess House Bill 459, limitations on firearms export. That's a New Jersey a New Jersey anti-gun law. The next one's Washington. The next one below that is coming out of what is this? Massachusetts. The next one after that's Illinois, then Illinois again, then New York, then Illinois again, then Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maryland, New York, New York, New Jersey, Florida, Florida, California, Texas, Florida. So these are all anti-gun. They even tell you, should you be opposed to this or should you support it, right? So if it's opposed, it'll say opposed in big red. If you're supposed to support it, it'll be in bright green that says support. So it makes it really easy to navigate to let you know, like, hey, this is an anti-gun bill. I should not be supporting. I can click on this link, and it'll navigate me to how to send a letter. It might even be a pre-written letter I just signed my name to, or give you a chance to write your own letter. It makes it very, very easy to send in things to other states. And you don't. There's no law that says like, oh, you can't send a letter, you can't send an email to the governor in Florida saying, hey, I don't like what you guys are doing there. So but you want to flood them with these letters, and I do think it does something. I do think it turns head. It's potential voter base. It's it also has a updates on a lot of these on whether it'll say victory for the Second Amendment if we won, um, or it'll just say update, they passed another anti-gun law, and whether we fail or win, they do give updates on a lot of this stuff on how it turned out. Very, very, very easy to navigate where anyone can do it. Again, that's firearmspolicy.org. The very first link, take action. Then they have legal action, news, donate, where you can donate, send some money their way through PayPal, a couple bucks. They have a lot of resources on there. They even have Firearms Policy Coalition gear, like T-shirts and hats and stuff you can purchase to support them. But if you're sitting on your thumbs right now and you're in a pro-gun state, and you don't have anything coming through, but you're a Second Amendment supporter, you could be helping out our brothers and cousins in New Jersey and California and New York right now by literally doing nothing more than clicking on a little link, and it'll take you to a form that you can take action now. You can send off an email, get an address, get a phone number to call, and they give all that information to you very, very easy to navigate. So even if you're not good, navigating the internet, they make it super, super easy where anyone can do it. And plus their website's not graphics intensive, so you could easily just come and navigate this website on your phone or old computer or whatnot. And yeah, so I definitely want to throw their name out there. I think they're one of the leaders right now in making it this easy for people to support our fellow states. Patriot, thank you for joining, sir.
Good morning, fellas. I would like to add, you can use those over and over and over again. So just because you send one, the next day, put a little link to it. So you go back to the same thing, you send it another, I wouldn't do it all in one day, like 30 of them or something, but one a day. It's pretty quick, especially if you have doing it on your desktop where you got like autofill. It'll put your name and address in, just tabbing down, so it can go pretty quick. You can send, a bunch of them out, and I will definitely, go through them and GOA. They both have to take action. So, but the firearm policy, theirs is actually really good because it does list everyone, not just the couple guys in your area. So if there's a committee that it has something being pushed, it'll actually go to all the people in the committee, not just, your representative or your, whatever. So it is kind of nice because it'll go across the board. GOA, I believe, is more, stuck in your home state or your local region, unless it's, the president or something like that.
No, very good information. We've had a couple people ask, like, hey, does Early Watch have a Patreon or anything like that? And me and Tony have talked about it. We'd rather see everyone out there donate over to gunchannels.com. Go support gearwebsites.com. Go sign up on GWebs' Patreon and support organizations like Firearms Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America. Go contribute, become a member, sign up over there. If you want to help us out, you could help us out by supporting these people. I mean, these are the guys who are really leading the fight. GWebs, over on gunchannels.com. Sign up to his Patreon. These are guys who are really doing more for the Second Amendment than anyone. And Firearms Policy Coalition and Gun Owners of America. Those are the three people, or the three groups, I should say, people and groups that are really doing a lot for the Second Amendment. That's how I think that's how we'll enact change. And then don't be afraid to spend 5 minutes. I mean, you can be sitting there listening to your Yankee Marshall show tonight or whatnot, and while you're sitting there watching the show, go through this list, just literally clicking a couple links and sending an email or making a phone call, and that's really they make it as simple as that. And then if you want to add to it, if you want to reword it, if you want to erase it and start over and write your own letter, they give you those options too. But Patriot's exactly right. They won't just send it to your, local politicians. They'll send it to everyone involved in this bill. So,
They usually give you an option to share it as well. So once you fill it out and you send it, it says thank you. They'll say now you can share it. So you can share it, the link to the
on
to the
Facebook, Twitter, or
Yeah.
even email, right?
Yeah, and sometimes they'll actually even throw the phone number of whoever you were contacting. Now that you sent this at 3 a.m., when you are during business hours, here's the number. So they kind of help you out as far as giving you all the contact information. One thing I would like to mention is when you send this, if you get an automated response, I have a congressperson that every time I send something, it doesn't do anything because they have their personal website, right? So instead of using their senate.gov or whatever their email is, they have their own private thing. So if you actually want to contact them, you have to actually go through their website. So, I take extra minute just to flood them with, the same thing, but, I actually put it in and send it from, my email direct. So make sure that they're actually getting it too. Because some of them are jerks and think they can bypass all the constituents by having their own private thing that, unless you actually look for it, it'll say, this is, we don't take information from this site or whatever. So.
Also, they're using their own private email servers.
Private web pages.
Private web.
Yeah. Peters here in Michigan, if you send them anything through the .gov anything, you don't get any information back. Now you can sign up for alerts and stuff, and he'll email about, oh, look at me, I'm so good, I'm fighting for whatever snails or whatever he chooses. But at the bottom it says, do not reply to Senator Peters.gov or whatever it is, because if you want a reply or want me to actually read it, you have to email me this way, through his website. And so it's shady. I thought that they were required to use your business, .gov email, but I know for a fact that he doesn't. So I'm sure there's others out there that instead of getting that inundation with 1,000 emails about something, if they have their own private thing and don't tell anybody, then I guess they can look the other way.
And Ozzy out there makes a good point too. Also, Aaron Paletti of BlazingSword.org.
Yes.
I'll post a link out there. Definitely go check out them. One of the main leaders, I'd say, in the fight and the LGBTQ community, promoting Second Amendment awareness. So I posted that link out there. Aaron Paletti's part of the Pink Pistols, and is doing great work. Aaron Paletti's also been on the last several episodes of Gun Gals, and they're doing great work over there. So definitely go and support Aaron Paletti. Let them know that they have your full support. I think that's very important for these people to hear. So I think it's important to remind people that are out there fighting for our rights, like the Alan Gottliebs, and I probably butcher his name every time I say it. Does anyone know how to properly? Is it Gottlieb? Gottlieb? Is it Gottlieb?
I just say Gottlieb, but
Gottlieb.
I don't know. I've never read it, so
It's
So,
Gottlieb. Gottlieb.
What's that, John?
Gottlieb.
Gottlieb. Okay, Gottlieb. Okay, so that B on the end. It's an unusual name. I butcher people's names very, very badly, but it's important to these people I think to thank them, to know that they're making a difference and that we appreciate that. So just a little, hey, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your time and your effort. Thank you for. I think that's just really important to keep putting out there and let these people know. People like G-Webs. Hey, you know what? Thank you, man. We really appreciate what you're doing out there. We see what you're doing. We support you, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you. That's important to put out there because, like doing the early watch every day, reading a lot of these anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment stories and all that can be draining. It can kind of put you in a bad mood, can be kind of downing. And that's why we try and find some, good guy stories in there and some win stories, but sometimes that can be difficult in this day and age to come across. And I'll throw it out there at Tony's email at earlywatchil@gmail.com. So earlywatchil@gmail.com. If you have any, 2A laws coming into effect, any anti-2A laws that they're trying to shove down your throat, any good guy with a gun stories, any pro-gun stories, any 2A wins in your local areas, your local city, state, county, feel free to send those over to Tony so we can read them. Especially, we definitely need help with the good stories. The 2A wins, the good guys with the gun, and we definitely need help on those stories because those can be really hard to come across, and to try and balance it out so this show just doesn't turn into 2 hours of everything's just anti-gun, because it can just be really, really a downer. Walking away from the show at the end of it when you just basically listened and talked about anti-gun stuff for 2 hours straight. So just imagine what these people like G-Webs and Alan Gottlieb and go through, in the fight, and how much that they have to hear about it and talk about it, and the kind of strain it can put on you. So definitely go thank them, because what they do for the community is just underappreciated. It really is.
Well, and the alternative is going to be, and this is not, I'm not saying that they're going to quit because of this or whatever, but You're going to go to your YouTube feed at midnight, Monday through Friday, looking for the Daily Gun Show, and it's not going to be there. You're going to go to gunchannels.com, and it's not going to be there. You're going to go to Minuteman University, and it's not going to be there. You're going to go to the Firearms Policy Coalition's website, and it's not going to be there. And then we're going to be saying, where'd they go? What happened? What happened? Oh, it's so important. You know, if you don't support them now, what makes you think that they're just going to stay here forever? And I'm not saying that they're doing it for the money. That's the last thing I'm saying. But if you really believe in what they're doing, support them. I mean, as much as just share a video, thumbs up a video, leave a comment, you know, send them an email. If you can't financially support them, verbally tell them how much they mean to you.
Well, and those analytics are super important. So I saw with my own eyes that I've left a comment on someone's page before, and that you can go through on Instagram and look at the people you're following and basically see the comments that people you're following have left on other people's pages. And I've watched people that follow me see a comment on that feature that I've left on someone else's page, and now they went and followed that other person. And they might not have ever even have found that other person if they wouldn't have seen my comment. And so those analytics, whether it's just a little thumbs up emoji or like, oh, hey, I appreciate this post, or, you know, thanking them for the post or whatnot, those are all very, very important. It really helps spread that message and helps everyone find each other, make each other aware. So those analytics are super, super important. Those thumbs up, those comments on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. That's super, super important for their algorithms. Super, super important for us to be using. So don't be afraid to take the time on, you know, the next person's, you know, gun review video, the next person's 2A awareness video, to go over there and say, oh, thank you for this. You know, I didn't know about this. Just write a single sentence, write a couple words, thumb it up. That's super, super important, because the more we do that, the more people are going to find these people, the more people are going to use them, more people are going to sub, more people are going to watch, and the more awareness it's going to promote.
One of the things that I do when I go to like the coalition or one of the channels that I'm sub to, I always thumb it up when I go in there because, like you said, I know the analytics are going to count that. And it may not be much, but at least it's something. Oh, and one more thing. I've been thinking about it. Excuse me. Does anybody know the Guns and Gadgets guy?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah, you know, he's over on Gun Channels now. Did you guys know that?
Yes, sir. Yep, I have seen his post over
Okay.
there. Yeah, I will actually post his link out there.
You know,
Okay.
he did the series about Trump as the worst gun president we've ever had. And, you know, he said he got attacked for it pretty good. Well, there was a pro-Trump, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to, you know, smash him or nothing like that. But there's a pro-Trump YouTube page that did a special video just about Jared. And, you know, dragging him down, busting him as much as he could. Obviously, he's never seen another one of Jared's videos. He just watched this one that said something negative about Trump. And he started going crazy about it.
Yeah, things can definitely get heated in this community. We're all very passionate on the things we believe.
Well,
But
I left a comment on their video and said, look, you know, I understand that you're upset and I appreciate your videos. I'm a sub to your channel and all this other kind of stuff. But when Trump does something stupid, we got to call him out on it. And his response was, I don't need you to call me out. And then big bold letters, blocked. So he blocked me from his channel. And that's the kind of stuff that we don't need. We don't need everybody riding Trump's coattails like he's the greatest thing in the world. And we don't need, which is making me about sick as I can get. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to contain myself. But these people that get on your YouTube or wherever, and Trump is the dumbest idiot in the world. He's so stupid. He's so good. Everything he does sucks. And I'm not talking about leftists. I'm talking about people like us. Get over yourself for 2 seconds and do some research.
Well, I would agree with that 100%. And I think it is important when we see our politicians, any politician, whether he's the president or your local mayor or county treasurer or whatnot, to call them out when they make these mistakes. When we feel that they're infringing upon our rights. I also feel it's important to do it with a little bit of tact and a little bit of character, not necessarily attack them, attack the idea. And that's what I think a lot of people are getting confused with. We're so eager to attack each other and attack these politicians instead of attacking their ideas. And I'll tell you what, like that whole saying, you catch a lot more flies with honey, that's true. So you come onto someone's social media page or you send them an email or whatnot, and you instantly just start calling them an idiot and stupid and stuff like that. I mean, they're not going to read the rest of your post. You can make some very, very valid arguments in your post. They're not, they're going to move right on past that. Where, if you come at it with just a little bit of character and tact, they are much more likely to read your posts, I think, or your email or whatnot, or listen to you. But when you just start blatantly attacking them and calling them names and all that, that doesn't do anyone any good, and it actually makes us all look pretty bad.
I would just add, on the rare occasion that they do something good, it's also good to let them know that you think that whatever is good, be it local or federal.
I'm a big proponent right now of reminding Trump of his campaign promises, reminding him of what he said in front of the NRA to all of us. We know he's a big user of social media, unlike any other president before. I mean, this is someone who's on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and has used that for his own benefit, and has also used it, I think, to try and be more in touch with the people. So we could use that against him, so to speak, by just going over there and reminding him of his campaign promises, and whether you just want to put in there shall not be infringed, or recite the Second Amendment, or just literally copying his exact words, word for word. The 8-year assault on your Second Amendment rights has come to an end. Imagine if just 1 million gun owners went and blew up his Twitter or Instagram or Facebook with that exact quote from him. Yeah. Even if he's not looking at that page personally, do you not think one of his aides is going to come to him and say, "Hey, Mr. Trump, sir, just so you know, there's 1 million comments on your most recent Instagram post, and they're all the same comment from 1 million different people." "Oh, really? What does it say?" "Oh, it says the 8-year assault on our Second Amendment rights has come to an end." Do you not think that's going to make him reevaluate and really, might make him do a double take? "Oh, hey, I did say that, didn't I?" Maybe what the NRA is telling me on one side isn't necessarily how all the gun owners feel on the other. So we can use those tools. We can use these social media as tools, especially with these politicians who are vocal and using social media to benefit themselves. We can use that against them, and we can do it with tact and character and style, and we don't have to get all nasty and berating them. We can do it. Set the bar higher. And like a lot of the things I saw with the Eric Swalwell guy, when he first made his statement about nuking Americans, a lot of people were really, really heated and really hot. And I went over to his Instagram page, and I saw gun owners threatening this guy's children. And granted, I don't like the guy, not one bit. I don't like the things he says. I don't like what he wants to do. But I saw gun owners threatening this guy's children on social media. Now, do you think how do you think this Eric Swalwell guy reacts to that when he sees gun owners, Second Amendment advocates threatening his children? Do you think that's probably going to make him work harder, make him want to ban guns even more? Do you think that almost not only in his mind at least proves his points that gun owners are bad guys, they're dangerous, we need to get the guns away from them? And it disgusted me. I even posted on Eric Swalwell's page back then when he made that comment to the gun owners that what they were saying was really, made me ashamed to be a part of that community, and that they could have definitely done it with more tact and style and class, and taken the higher road. That no one's kids should be threatened, no matter what their political stance, no matter what kind of dumb stuff they say about nuking Americans or whatnot. We could have attacked his arguments. We could have attacked his, attacked his statistics, attacked his thought process. But we didn't have to go after the guy's family. And that's the kind of stuff we want to stay away from, because that just makes us all look bad as a community. And not only that, this guy's not reading a single thing that we're saying to him. It doesn't matter what kind of argument we bring to the table, what kind of statistics, what kind of reasonable thought. He's going to want nothing to do with us. As far as this guy's concerned now, anything we say is just automatically invalid, just from posts like that. Am I wrong on that, or?
I don't think you're wrong. The only problem is the lunatic freaks are gonna be there no matter what. I mean, what can you do about it? You're gonna have people that they won't do anything. They won't write their congressman, but they'll go on there and hide behind their keyboard and say bad things to people. I don't understand it, but what are we going to do about it?
I think just set an example.
Or what can we do about it? Yes.
Yeah, I think
that's it. We have to, provide an example, but still, there are going to be people that will not acknowledge the example. They will not, they're going to be there.
I know. There's always going to be the one clown in the crowd, but but it was more than just one clown in the crowd after he made those nuking comments. I mean, just everyone got really upset, and we are passionate about our convictions and what we believe in, and it's easy to get angry and mad, and especially when someone makes comments about nuking American citizens, and we want to say something hurtful and angry back, and and maybe we can help each other out, set the example, and lead by example. And remember, you're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. Walk away, go for a walk, take a breather, calm down when you in the heat of the moment, when you might say something that might not reflect good on yourself or the whole community. I think it's important to remember that. A lot of those comments that I saw posted on his page, I don't think those people would say the same thing to him to his face, even though they hate that guy and they despise that guy. I don't like the guy one single bit. I hate everything he's doing. I hope he gets voted out of office, and I hope he never returns to politics whatsoever, and I hope he's forgotten about. But I definitely don't want to see anyone wishing harm on this guy's children. That is just unacceptable in my book. And not only that, there was a lot more. If anyone read those comments back when that happened on his social media, everyone knows what I'm talking about. I mean, all sorts of people came out of the woodwork, and just the comments were just absolutely ridiculous. And it made us all look bad as a community, because it was more than just one guy. I mean, it was thousands of gun owners coming over there and just laying into this guy. And some of them were laying into him with actual valid arguments and valid criticism. And other people were just really just being downright nasty. And there was just no call for that whatsoever. And we're not going to do anything by acting like that. No change whatsoever is ever going to be done by being that nasty and that rude and dragging a person's kids into the argument. That is just really, really uncalled for. And threatening, hurt on this guy's family, absolutely uncalled for in our community. Absolutely uncalled for. That's the last thing that we want to do. So if you see someone you follow, you have a friend, you see someone make one of those comments, call them out on it. Say, hey, man, this isn't going to help us. It ain't going to help our cause. It ain't going to help the argument. You should delete your comment. You should take the high road. Let's set an example. And, I don't think we have to badmouth the left very much and the anti-gunners very much. They do it to themselves pretty well. But when we sink to their level, that just makes us look just like them. So we have to be the example. We have to set a certain standard for us in our community to follow.
I totally agree. Are we us or are we them? Just like with the mob mentality, like the people who want to scream about, let's go to civil war. Okay, let's just throw away the entire country and your next door neighbor and start brutally murdering each other in the middle of the street because we politically disagree. That's a great idea. Are we us or are we them? I say we be us and let them be them.
I agree with that 100%.
I also agree.
And I think we got to kind of police our community a little bit. Like I said, when you see one of your friends, one of your family members making those comments, leaving those posts on social media, stuff like that, and you see them being downright nasty and that it's making us look bad as a community, making themselves look bad, we might want to reach out and say something to them and say, hey, man, I know you're passionate about this. I know you're angry. I know you're mad. I know you're upset. But there is different ways to go about this, and the way you're going about it is probably not the best way. We don't have to berate them. We don't have to be mean to them or anything like that. Not to our own community. We want to set a higher standard, but I think it's important to call out each other's faults when we see them like that, and lead by example. And I think most rational people are going to say, you know what, you're probably right. Like, me threatening this guy's kids probably isn't the best course of action. Maybe I should, come at this guy with more facts, a more logical argument. Not that might even help, but threatening this guy's kids isn't going to get him to change his mind one bit. It's going to make him work harder. It's going to make him believe in his convictions and his opinion even more. It's going to harden him, and he's not even going to want to have a debate or listen to a single thing. Because I know if someone threatened my kids, I'll tell you what, the conversation's over at that point. I don't care what logical facts or arguments you have. Once you threaten my kids, I'm done with you, buddy. You know what I mean? And that's how he's looking at the entire 2A community right now after those comments he got. I guarantee it. He could care less what facts, what logical arguments, what we have to say. He does not care whatsoever. He is going to work as hard as he can now to take our guns and to hurt us after comments like that. Because you know what? That's what I would do.
You're right. As soon as you start pushing something that they're going to turn off their hearing. They're not going to hear what you say. They're not going to consider what you say. Anything you have to say is just going in one ear and out the other. We've got to be civil. We've got to and present an argument that a coaching argument that we hope will get through to them in some way or some fashion.
So many other things could have been done and should have been done, but what is done is done. And all I can say is let's just not make the same mistake in the future as a community. Let's just try and help each other out. So when you see that family member, or friend, or follower, or Facebook friend, make some kind of ridiculous comment like that makes us look bad as a whole, let's help them out on that. Let's reach out to them, try and talk rationally and say, hey, this might not be a good thing to say. This might not be the right thing, the right time, the right place, and just point that out to them. And I think most logical people would probably come to the same conclusion, especially after they calm down a little bit. But we are very passionate in our convictions, very passionate about the Second Amendment. It's easy to get heated in these chats and these arguments, especially with anti-gunners. When we love our country, we love our rights, and it's easy to get angry at people that we see wanting to take those from us.
I know that there have been times when all I wanted to do was scream in their face, shall not be infringed, kind of like Night Strike, but it's not going to do any good. That's the problem. They're going to turn right off and not say a thing.
Let's see.
Well, at least
Go ahead, Dad.
no, go right ahead, David.
That's exactly the thing you touched on a little bit earlier. Eric Swalwell, first of all, the whole nuking thing, go back and listen to what he said and listen to the context. The guy was joking. He wasn't actually talking about using nukes. What he was inferring is we've got a military force that will come and take your guns. So a lot of people got all jazzed up and got stuck on the actual nuclear bomb thing. Understand the guy made a stupid joke. It wasn't funny, but he was not talking about actual nuclear weapons. Second is it doesn't matter how good of an argument you've got. Eric Swalwell doesn't care anything about what you're saying. He's got his agenda, and if you don't agree with it directly, your point, it doesn't matter how good your argument is. So attacking the guy and calling him an idiot and all that kind of stuff, of course he's not going to pay any attention to that. But who's going to pay attention to it is the person that's scrolling through the comment section while they're watching one of his videos. You know, or watch
middle ground, right?
Yeah. The far left, we said it all the time. The super far left or your anti-gunner or whatever you want to say it, they're not coming this way. It's not going to happen. Hillary Clinton will never be pro-gun. AOC will never be pro-gun. She's not going to an NRA rally. This is not going to happen. But somebody who watches her Instagram might one day. But not if you're calling her a nasty cuss and a nastier cuss and I'm going to come do bad things to you and stuff like that. No, they're not going to. People in the middle are going to say, wow, I don't want anything to do with that. No different than us when we get into a chat and people start talking about we need to raid Washington with pitchforks and AR-15s and start killing people and burning down buildings. You just lost me. I don't care how pro-gun you are. I don't care how freedom you are or how good of friends we are. When you start talking about armed conflict, I'm out.
Yep, I would agree with that 100%. That's why I say like a lot of people are like I've heard the same arguments, you know, the Civil War argument, stuff like that. And some people almost like they want it. Like it's kind of sad that you want that, and I think that's sad. I'm a proponent. I've been saying it for a long time. Make treason great again, and what I mean by that is, start making these officials honor their oath of office, and treat like treason used to be a charge that we'd bring up against politicians and against people in places of power that we're supposed to, be upholding our rights and protecting our rights to people who are abusing those and going against those, right? That was a very, very real thing. I can't even remember the last time someone was charged with treason in this country, at least a politician. And that's what I see is that somehow has gone away. I don't know why it's not a thing anymore. That might be something to research. But I think if we started holding these officials accountable, and I don't mean killing them, I mean just literally charging them with a crime which they are committing, we would things would be different.
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to tag in on what you said.
Oh, Dan. Oh, hey, Dan. I didn't even see you join.
Hey, hello. Tagging off of what you just said is the last time this country came close, but missed it just by that much, was with Richard Newhouse Nixon. And I think that shows how insulated legally, as well as in other ways, the presidency is, regardless of who sits in that chair. And for some reason beyond my comprehension, it's supposed to end when they give that chair up, but it seems to extend itself for some. Well, I think I know the reasons, but that being they're now part of the system. They have that inside information for life. They're guaranteed basically immunity for life.
And that's what I see too. They do get too much immunity. They're above the law, so to speak.
Yes.
I mean, look at Hillary Clinton. I mean, I've heard so many actual facts come out about Hillary Clinton that she has actually broken the law, going all the way back when she was the Secretary of State, right? That she broke the law, and they actually have evidence. If it was any normal person at like this, some corporation that had committed some of the things that she has done, we would be in jail. We would be charged. We'd be fined.
Well,
And
I mean,
nothing has happened to her.
just for historical perspective, it goes far back beyond that, back to when her husband was governor of Arkansas.
Oh yeah, no, it does. Like even Bill Clinton himself, has they have actual evidence and facts from when he was the governor of Arkansas breaking the law. Right?
Investment trusts that were broken with insider information, things like that.
Yep, the Clinton Foundation. All sorts of things have come to light. And where are the charges? Where like they do have like diplomatic immunity. And that's supposed to be something from someone outside the country, right? Coming into our country that abides by different laws. That's what the diplomatic immunity is supposed to be about. But it's somehow our own representatives are using that now. Like, oh, I have diplomatic immunity. I can do whatever I want.
Bob Menendez walked out of a courtroom and stood in front of a gaggle full of press people right on the courthouse steps and said that he's going to get even with everybody that came after him. I mean, what is that? You're a politician. You got charged with something. You were found to not be culpable for your charges, and now you're going to come out and start threatening to get even with people?
Good
Well,
point.
yeah, I mean, we see examples of that, whether it's in the regular people or whether it's people at the top.
Patrick out there has a question for us, guys. So maybe, so Dano, did you hear about my whole little rant about taking the higher road and stuff like that?
I've heard it more than once.
More than once. I know. I that's a common thing with me. Because I do believe that's a good thing for our community. But Patrick says,
To a point.
So maybe since then you can really help me with this. So Patrick out there says, when is the time? When is it time to not to be nice?
When lying, which is basically what we're covering the word nice with, is not to the greater good's advantage, or is truly harmful to the individual. Ignoring reality helps no one, although many people do it on a regular basis just to get by. And I understand we all have to get by. We all have to tolerate certain things that the boss says or whatever, or a coworker might say just to get along. But the more you do that, if you're a person of ethics, morals, and a conscience, you're not going to forget. And then you're building up like burying the hatchet. There used to be a phrase, "Oh, let's bury the hatchet." And the reason that's a terrible idea and a bad analogy is because every season that goes by, winter and summer, the freezing and thawing of the soil brings that hatchet to the surface. That issue will rise again. It's just a matter of when and how sharp it's going to cut. So I don't think being flowery words, sprinkled about thing rather than calling it for what it is. You don't want to exacerbate or say what it isn't by by overemphasizing it, like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to mankind, when it isn't. But call something that's not good for the individual or for the group not good for the individual or group.
Can we be not nice but still have tact and character and not be I guess hateful and stuff like that? Is it
Well,
can those two
as long as it depends on how one defines tact, does not infringe upon the truth. Because
Plus,
there are words that are soft words that, so we don't hurt people's feelings. It's like, I'm about the truth. Now, I want to use the truth and say it as accurately as possible, so I'm not misrepresenting my accusation, whatever it is I'm saying. I don't want to say something that's not true, making it sound like it's much worse than it actually is. That's as dangerous, if not possibly more dangerous. But
so maybe a better word would be respect. So can we not be not nice but still have a certain amount of respect or towards the person that we're not being nice to? Like, let's say like an anti-gunner to an anti-gunner, a heated argument. We're going back and forth, exchanging statistics and stuff like that, and making our cases and our arguments, and it might be getting heated. Is there a certain way that where we don't have to sugarcoat the truth? We don't have to necessarily use like pretty language, but we can still have a certain amount of respect. Is there like hitting below the belt, so to speak? Like, where do we draw that line? Or is there a line?
Well, the line is when the other person becomes disrespectful of your position and use ad hominem attacks rather than fact and logic. Ad hominem attacks or feelings are not evidence. I come up from a scientifically based model of behavior and what's right and wrong ethically and morally.
So when they use those tactics against us, what you just said. So if they're doing that to us, so that means that we do it. That's when we can do it back. That's when we can use the same thing.
That's the sign that you should stop wasting your time and energy, move along to something more productive in your life. Whether that's go back to work, talk to somebody else about the same issue, because obviously that person is a waste of time. Whatever it happens to be.
well, if that's a Roadhouse reference to, be nice until it's time to not be nice, there's a definite difference between being not nice and being violent. Being not nice, you can be not nice and do like Dano said and still get your point across and still have, evidence and facts and logic behind you. But being not nice, going violent, I say you only get violent when somebody puts their hands on you.
Yeah. That's way over the line. That's not even close to the line. Because getting hands on.
Well, and being violent doesn't even have to be physical, right? It can definitely be verbal. Violent threats and stuff like that, right? Like our threats against, like, we were already talking about them, so let's use the Eric Swalwell case. Threats against his children for his anti-gun statements. Is that going too far? Violent threats against his children?
Yeah, of course it is. Like I said, are we them or are we us? Antifa goes out and, pushes little babies in their strollers and attacks women and, all this other kind of stuff. And we don't do that. And if we start doing that, then we're them.
What do you think, Daniel?
Can you state the question again?
So we were talking about Eric Swalwell and his
I'm not familiar with that case.
So Eric Swalwell is a California representative in the California he's a California politician. He's the one who made the comment about nuking American citizens, you know the guy, right? The nuking American citizens.
I have heard something to that effect. Yes.
So people went to his social media, and some gun owners made valid logical arguments, and some gun owners literally were saying, like, if you try and do this, like, I'll go kill your kids, like they were threatening violence against his
Well-
children and bringing his children and family into it.
Just speaking to
So
that
threats of
individual threat,
violence.
a threat has to have the ability to be followed through upon, in which that individual does not. So therefore, how much of a threat is it to be an actual threat? If the president were to say that, that would be far different than if some state level politician says, well, I'll just nuke something. You know, he doesn't even have to nuke anything. He's not involved.
Well, yeah, David made the point that was a really bad joke, right?
Right.
I think that he was trying to make.
And the other thing is, people will say things in the heat of the moment. We all do, and anybody who says they don't is lying to themselves. That we don't actually mean it the way we say it. We're just trying to illustrate a point through a slightly or sometimes very exaggerated example. Or humor, which doesn't necessarily go over as humor sometimes.
But do you think that the comments, like specifically a comment that I read that said something along the lines, and this might not be an exact quote, but I know it's pretty close. If you try and take my guns, I will kill your kids. I mean, I literally read that on his social media page from a pro A2 gun guy, right? I literally read that comment.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's
because again, you know, even if it's what am I quote borderline justifiable against the threat, he's not. His aim is so far off as to then make him the criminal, him the evildoer.
exactly. And does that reflect on the whole 2A community, on someone in the middle, maybe coming across? Because you know, we've made the case that Eric Swalwell isn't going to listen no matter what we come to him with, because he has an agenda that he's trying to promote and see through. But that person in the middle that comes across that undecided person, they come and they read that comment. Does that make the whole 2A community look bad? Does it put us all in one boat?
I don't, you know, unless it's a major figure, I don't think any one individual can do the entire community some sort of major disservice. A minor disservice, sure, absolutely.
Now, what about
hundreds
of similar posts on
Okay.
Because if you go back and you read that gentleman's
Now,
social media,
how many gun owners do we estimate to have in the United States versus the hundreds of posts? So we have perspective. There are millions, and more than one or two. And yet, as you mentioned, your estimate is hundreds of potentially violent comments over millions of gun owners.
And
That's a very,
fact,
very tiny amount to say that, well, that's representational of gun owners.
I know, and I understand that, and you understand that, but is this the average undecided person who comes across those comments who's like, they're not against guns, but they're not for them either? They're just right there in the middle of the fence, and they read a bunch of these comments on this guy's posts.
I think the few people that are in the middle in today's world typically read the headline, and usually, if anything is read, it's not beyond the first paragraph. So, we've all heard the term low information voter, but that doesn't just apply to voting and knowledge of candidates' positions. That applies to the general American's public about things that are going on in this country from sea to shining sea, nationally, internationally, and regionally. It's a sad state of affairs. But I think it goes way beyond just voting.
Just to lighten things up a little bit, there's a deer about 15 feet away from me eating. I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera or not.
Is he under the tree?
Yes.
Yes, you can see his legs under the tree.
Oh, yes.
You want to lock it on?
Yeah, he's on the far side of the tree. I see him now.
Yes.
Yeah, there he goes. There he goes.
Mhm.
That's just about 15 feet. Now he's looking right at the camera. You say, "Hey, dead horse. Hey, Dano. Hey, John B." See, not everything in the world is bad. There's pretty little deer like that that are so calmly and peacefully walking through this neighborhood. This neighborhood is packed with deer like this. I mean, this is like the safest place in the country for deer.
Mm-hmm.
We have them come into our neighborhoods like that here, and I don't ever chase them off or anything. I don't ever mess with them. I do watch them when they come by though. I love to watch nature like that, especially right out your front door.
Yep.
And with that, we are at the top of our second hour here. We usually try and keep this show at around 2 hours. So I'll go through the panel for any shout outs, anything if they have anything coming up or anything that they want to promote awareness for. I'll start on my left with a John Brown Productions. John Brown, you have any shout outs or anything you want to promote awareness for or anything coming up? Are you going to do a Liberty pistol video for me or a Liberator pistol? Oh, John Brown might have walked away there for a moment. We'll skip over to Dano. Oh, wait, there's John.
I'm sorry.
You're fine, sir.
I'm sorry. I couldn't find a mute button for a minute. I started some research last night on the Liberator. I'm going to write a script. It'll only probably be a couple of minutes. But thank you for inviting me. I love these shows. They're very, very informative. And everybody should go over to Gun Channels, the two-way friendly site on the web.
Yes, sir. And I did post a video of John's 1911 Remington Rand story on the front page of Gun Channels yesterday. Definitely go check that out. And he's going to be making a Liberator pistol video for us because found out yesterday John owns a Liberator pistol. I think he's the only person I know that owns one of those. What an awesome little gun and an awesome little story behind it. So I can't wait till John comes out with that video. Dano, do you have anything coming up? Or
I got nothing.
got nothing.
Nothing,
David,
honey.
David, how about you, sir?
Yeah, check out gunchannels.com, everysecondmatters.com, and tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, the Travis P11 show, Caliber Corner.
Yes, sir. Definitely check out Caliber Corner, 6 p.m. Eastern. We also have Sarge at C4 Defense at 8 p.m. Eastern, doing C4 Defense Live. And then I think this is the week for Yankee Matt and G Webs to do Shooting Left to Center. I think this is the right week. They usually do it every other week. I think this is the right week at 10 p.m. Eastern. Then we have After Hours with Clover Tack at 11 p.m. Eastern. And then we have the Daily Gun Show at 12 p.m. Eastern. So definitely come over to gunchannels.com. Those show schedules are posted at the top of gunchannels.com. If you're a content creator, feel free to post your content over on gunchannels.com. I'd also like to give a shout out to Jeff Cooper. I'm going to leave you guys with a Jeff Cooper quote today. The media insists that crime is the major concern of the American public today. In this connection, they generally push the point that a disarmed society would be a crime-free society. They will not accept the truth that if you take all the guns off the street, you will still have a crime problem. Whereas if you take all the criminals off the street, you will not have a gun problem. Thank you, everybody.
Good day.